Welcome to the Laws of Cooking on Shabbat. This will be part 17 of the class. Today we want to discuss the topic, food brought by car on Shabbat. Rav David Yosef Shlita in the Sefer Halacha Biruram addresses this question. If food was brought by means of a car on Shabbat, can one benefit from it? For example, you're sitting home on Shabbat with your family and you have a family member who unfortunately didn't have the merit to keep Torah and mitzvot. So he doesn't know that he's not allowed to drive his car on Shabbat. So now he comes to you on Shabbat. You're not going to kick him out, correct? But when he comes to you, he brings cake, or he brings you a nice bottle of wine or whiskey, whatever it might be, anything that is edible. Are you allowed to go ahead and eat that food? Or another scenario which I see very often, Shabbat Chatan of a bar mitzvah boy or a brit milah, where you see aunts and uncles coming to the shul on Shabbat, and they're coming out with bags and bags of candies to bring it to the simcha. And now they throw it in the shul. Are you allowed to eat those candies on Shabbat? I was one time in a certain shul. Rabotai, it is very unfortunate that too many leaders don't open their mouths when they see these wrong things happening. When I did see it happening, the person over there tried to tell me the guy didn't know, he didn't know. I saw who it was. It was an owner of a certain restaurant. He came in his truck, Rabotai, on Shabbat. From the back door of the shul, they unloaded every food that was there. When I told the mashgiach, he told me, no, nobody came. I said, I go to what? What am I? Are you telling me that I didn't see what just happened? I saw what just happened. On top of that, when the guys came to eventually waiter for the synagogue downstairs, I said, these were the guys. I pointed each one. I said, these were the guys. So some of them, he said, were not Jews. The other were actually Jewish. He said, what do you want me to do? What do you want? You want me to throw all the food in the garbage? What do you want me to do? But the problem is, Rabotai, not what I want you to do. What should have been done? What precautions should have been taken? We overlook these things today. We unfortunately overlook it. I was in a certain restaurant, Rabotai, on Shabbat. I'm talking about a while back. Shabbat now is very different. I'm speaking about a while back. On Shabbat, Rabotai, on Shabbat itself, they brought somebody carp. And when I looked at the carp, I saw it was, when regular carp is, it can be hot, it could be warm. But steam won't come out of it. So for me, it didn't make sense. Something's not right. So I told the mashgiach, can I check where all this is done? He said, no, you don't have to, everything's fine. Everything's fine. So, Rabotai, me in my usual ways, so okay, fine, where's the bathroom? Well, that's it. Where's the bathroom? So he says it's downstairs. I go to the bathroom downstairs. Instead of going to the bathroom, I went to the kitchen. Rabotai, they took the carp fish. Since they were short a few, they started making it on the spot on Shabbat. On Shabbat! Somebody told me, a mashgiach, Rabotai, told me in a certain restaurant, that they ran out of hot water. They had no more hot water. So they started making more hot water in order to give people more tea to drink. If we don't have the proper, Rabotai, mashgichim in place, now do me a favor, Rabotai, when I say proper mashgichim, I'm not speaking about a mashgiach that doesn't know alphabet, that never learned his halachot in his life. Just because he has a kippah doesn't mean he's a mashgiach. Rabotai, Baliyah in Har, Baruch Hashem, I went through many halachot in your day when it comes to the laws of kashrut. If you tell me today, Rabbi, be a mashgiach in a certain restaurant, I won't be able to be a mashgiach. For one reason only, because I didn't learn all the halachot over there. How to go and check the letters, I did not learn, Rabotai. I leave it to my wife. I usually buy everything checked. But I didn't do these learn halachot, Rabotai. When it comes to the flour, you have to check the flour. They might have worms in them. A lot of flowers are infested. Rabotai, there's a lot of things you have to do as a mashgiach. I went one time to Brooklyn in a restaurant, me and my wife. So I asked for the mashgiach. So they said the mashgiach is in the back where he's supposed to be. Not in the front checking the liquor bar. That's how you know these mashgiach they don't know nothing. They're checking if it's a mivushal, not mivushal, if it's kosher, not kosher. This, you know, they don't know what they're doing. This mashgiach, he comes out from the back. Rabotai, you look at him, it was black and white. You look at he had an apron, all dirty. Like when I say dirty, completely dirty. Flour on him, red. He was checking the. He says, "Come to the back with me." He says, "This is all my work. I work all the in the kitchen. Not one time do I go outside. I can't have time to go outside. I'm in the back." That Rabotai is a mashgiach, not a mashgiach with a tie and a suit, and he's walking around making sure that you guys don't bring by accident not kosher kanak over there. That Rabotai is not a mashgiach. In any event, Rabotai, we have to be smart. We have to be smart. Whenever we make any of these parties in the shul, you have to understand what's going on in the kitchen, number one. Number two, when you're making events in shul, how much of that food is brought on Shabbat and how much of that food is brought before Shabbat? Now, if that food is brought by car on Shabbat, we want to see today what is going to be the halakha. I'll tell you right now, Rabotai, today people, a lot of people know today that they're not allowed to drive the car on Shabbat. So automatically we're going to put them on the category of they're knowingly desecrating Shabbat. If that is the case, if like in that shul that I was, if they went ahead and they catered to 150 people, they literally brought platters of food. It was nuts, fish, gush, whatever. They brought a lot of food. Baksh, otzvo, chatzvo, they brought a lot of food. Even chulun they brought, Rabotai. It was packed. That time, Rabotai, believe me, when I came to the mashgiach, and then after when we even approached the rabbi, he brushed me off. But at that time, I'm speaking about at least a good 20 years now. At that time when this happened, I wasn't this learned. I'm just telling you what I remember. But all that food would have been asur to eat. All that food would have been asur to eat. But like usual, Rabotai, money talks, and how they say, number two walks. And that's what we've become today. That's unfortunately what many of the leaders of the community have become today, unfortunately. They allow the money to walk and talk. They forgot that we have a Kadosh Baruch Hu that we're going to have to give an accounting for. It is not a joke, Rabotai. Many shuls overlook the halachic standards of what's required to be in the kitchen. Why? What, are we telling we're not going to pay you? Do it. Get a mashgeh that costs you $1,000. I don't care. Tell the Balat Simcha, the one who's making the party, is going to be extra $1,500 on you. I don't care. You have to pay more for the meat to give us Beit Yosef, charge us more. You have to pay more because you have to get Kemich Hashem flour, charge us more. You have to pay more because you have to do Chalav Israel, charge us more. But don't, Rabotai, charge us more and give us garbage. That you shouldn't do, Rabotai. All these people are going to give an accounting one day. What do you think, it's a joke? To go and feed Jewish people forbidden food? It's not a joke. Anyway, these are some of the cases. Look what Rav David Yosef Shita says in his Halacha Berurah. It's not a joke. What are we doing today? So what if it's your aunt came and she brought all these candies and your father-in-law brought you a $350 kanak? Tell him take and flush it down the toilet, let him wash the toilet with it. What is, Rabotai, where's HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the picture? There's no more Hashem. Today everything's about making people happy. Nobody's today concerned with making Hashem happy. Everything's about what makes people happy. Rav David Yosef Shita begins and he says, Min amur le'el b'siva kodem. From what was stated early in the previous halacha, yesh lilmod, we can learn out. Now, before we do continue, what did the previous halacha speak about? The previous halacha spoke about carrying on Shabbat from one domain to another. That if a person went ahead, let's say you wanted to bring a nice bottle of wine to your father's house, and there's no Eruv in the area. So you are in your house, you went outside from your house, and you went into a public domain. And then you went to your father's house, whatever, you walked 2 blocks, 3 blocks, I don't care. Now you go, you give him the wine. The halach, Rabotai, we saw over here, when it comes to carrying, if it was done right over here, if it was done by accident, we're going to tell you you're allowed to eat it on Shabbat, you're allowed to benefit from that wine on Shabbat. But if it was done b'mezid right over here, we're going to tell you you're not allowed to benefit. A lot of us, Rabotai, over here, okay, in this halakha, you can tell me people bemet don't know that they're not allowed to carry from one place to another. So here we're going to say, Rabotai, yeah, it's possible that the person didn't know. So we'll say it was an accident and you're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to eat the food on Shabbat. Nevertheless, he did an avera, he did a sin. He has to do teshuvah. So comes Rav David Yosef Shuta and he says, from what was stated above in that halakha, we can learn that from that halakha to this halakha. Here we go. She'im Yehudi mechalel Shabbat. If you had a Jew who desecrated Shabbat, hevi davar divrei machal b'mechonit b'Shabbat. He went ahead and he brought edible items in a car on Shabbat. Kevan shaya davar b'mezitz. So he already tells you that this had to be done knowingly, intentionally. Since it was done intentionally, comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says, Asur le'echol me'otam divrei machal b'Shabbat atzmam. It is forbidden for one to eat those edible items on Shabbat itself. Who is not allowed to have it? Ben le'oto shevi'am b'mechonit. Whether I'm speaking about the person that brought it in the car, or ben le'shar b'nei adam, or whether to other people. Nobody is allowed to go ahead and benefit from that food itself. Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. In all of the cases that I mentioned above, with the Khatan or Khatan Bar Mitzvah or Brit Milah, or these parties that they make, and you have people that they come and they bring vans of food to the synagogue and then they serve it to us, who's not allowed to eat it and who's allowed to eat it? No one is allowed to eat it. Not the one that brought it on the car and not the one that didn't bring it on the car. Everybody's forbidden from consuming that food. However, achar ha-Shabbat mutarim ba'achila. However, after Shabbat comes out, you're allowed to go and consume it. Ben le'oto adam shive'am uben le'sha'ar b'nei adam. Whether that person went ahead and he brought it, or whether we're dealing about the people that did not bring it. Meaning to say, after Shabbat, everybody's permissible to go ahead and eat this food which was brought on Shabbat. So this part was basically speaking about food which was brought through means by a car on Shabbat. If it was done intentional, you're not allowed to eat that food. So if you're sitting home on Shabbat and you have an uncle or an aunt that came and now they brought, I don't know, let's say cake, or they brought dessert, whatever they might have brought, and now they're taking it out on the table. If they brought it through means by a car, you have to tell them nicely and politely, uncle and auntie, this food as of now, until after Shabbat, is not allowed to be eaten. Not by us and not by you too also. That's how it works. No, it's not nice. We don't look what's nice in your eyes. We look what's nice in the eyes of Hashem. I'm not asking you if it's nice or not nice. This is my place, and I'm not allowing other people to stumble just because you want to be a nice and you want to be a good uncle or aunt, whatever you want to call yourself. You tell them after Shabbat, come back, we're going to say we're going to eat your food. Next time you should never do this. This was the halakha that we spoke about in the part 1 of the class. Now, Rabotai, here we go. Another problem. What happens if you tell a Jewish waiter, or you have a Jewish worker that's going to come to your house to help you? Sometimes the wife needs the help. You invite 40 people, 50 people. She needs help. So she needs waiters. She needs people that are going to wash the dishes. She really needs help. I agree, Rabotai. But what happens if you hire some Jewish girls or some Jewish boys that are going to come and they're going to help you, but all of them arrived by car? Can you use them now? You see them coming out on Uber, you see them coming out. Can you use them, yes or no? Comes Rav David Yosef Shuta, and he says, Mikol makom, nevertheless, Yehudi sheba b'mechonit b'Shabbat, if you had a Jew that came in a car on Shabbat, afilu asa ken b'mezid, even if he did it intentionally, knowingly. Kigon, for example, meltar o poel, if you had a waiter or a worker, sheba b'mechonit b'Shabbat, if he came by car on Shabbat, in order to be able to do permissible work, like wash the dishes, bring in the plates, sweep the floor, whatever it might be, mutar lishtamesh bahem b'Shabbat, you are allowed to go ahead and use these workers or these waiters on Shabbat, and you're allowed to even benefit from their labor, from the work that they provide. However, listen to what he says right over here. For sure, initially, it's an obligation to warn them before Shabbat. You should tell them that you should not desecrate Shabbat and you shouldn't come by car. Vizhuram she'im yasukin, and you should warn them that if they're going to do so, if they're going to come by car on Shabbat, lo yishtamshu b'hem b'Shabbat. You have to warn them that you're not going to use them on Shabbat. Has to be your condition with them. I'm only hiring you on condition if you come in a permissible way. If you come in an unpermissible way, like by car, or by train, or by bus, you have to tell them, we're not going to use you at all. You have to give them that warning. V'rak b'di'avad, only if it already happened, if it already happened without those, nobody warned you, didn't even think about it, the waiter just all came by car, we're going to tell you in this situation, yesh la'akel b'zeh. We're going to tell you in this situation, you are able to go and be lenient and use them. So comes Rav David Yosef Shlomo in the second part of the class, and he says, when it comes to waiters and workers, when you want to invite them to your house to work for you on Shabbat, to do permissible work, no problem. But you have to understand, you have to first warn them that they shouldn't come by car. And if they're going to come by car, we're going to tell you that you should tell them, we're not going to use you at all. You're not getting $1. However, what happens if you didn't do it or you forgot to do it? And now you see them pull up in a car, we're going to tell you, b'di'evet, if it already happened, it happened. You're allowed to go ahead and use these workers because really, it was out of your control. Well, you can't control everyone, correct? Review. If a Jew drives a car on Shabbat to bring food, this is breaking Shabbat on purpose. That food cannot be eaten on Shabbat, not by him and not by anyone else. But after Shabbat, the food is fine to eat for everyone. But if a Jew comes in a car on Shabbat to work for you like a waiter or a worker, even if he drove on purpose, you are still allowed to use the service he came to do, as long as the work itself is something allowed on Shabbat. Still, it is very important to tell him before Shabbat, do not drive on Shabbat. If you do, we will not use you on Shabbat. Only if it already happened without you knowing that he came, right? Without you being aware that he pulled up on a car. You don't know he's going to come on a car or not. You thought he's a good Jew, he's not going to come on a car. So now he surprised you. What do? So Rav David Yosef says you can be lenient and use him. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'Olam. Amen.